Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. You're watching Variety Talk Live, and I am your host, Linda Leak. We appreciate you joining us today for this very sobering and special edition of the historical wildfires in Southern California. I'm wearing black today in support of all of those who have not only lost their lives, but who have lost their homes, their properties, in a very devastating and unexpected way. And so we're here today on Variety Talk in a three-part series to share with you and discuss with those who not only have lost property, but who have been residents and very familiar with these areas, not only in Altadena, but in Malibu as well. We will be discussing Malibu in our upcoming series, but right now we wanted to focus on Altadena simply because it's not as talked about. Um, it is one of Southern California's best kept secrets, is what I used to call it. And from day one, when I stepped onto the grounds of Altadena, I just felt like I was home. It's the most homey, secure, but most importantly, one of the most historical and important African American communities, wealthy communities in all of the United States of America, but especially in Southern California. It sits right at the top of the hill on top of Pasadena. And many African Americans have been there and migrated there for over at least 80 years. So we're here today to have people here to share their stories about how they arrived in Altadena and what it means to them. And then there are others who have actually just lost their homes, their property, and they want to share with us their thoughts and their feelings as well. Um, we also will take time later on in the show to bring on those or just give you information for those who I've spoken to who are very interested in helping out in many ways in terms of uh, pricing real estate, because we know now that it's probably going to become very competitive. There are people who will want to still donate certain items, just basic items for those that need it. And finances. There are people that will be speaking to us about financing. So let's just get started. Again, we want to, well, let's take a commercial break really quickly. And then when we come back, we'll introduce to you who's joining us on the show. So you're watching Variety Talk Live. I'm your host, Linda Leak, and we'll see you in a minute.
Need a loan? Consider a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage will provide tax-free cash, eliminate monthly mortgage payments, and offers a financial safety net. If you can use a loan, call Jordan Gibbs today at 323-899-5547. That's 323-899-5547.
Hi, everybody. We're back, and you're watching Variety Talk Live. Now, you're sitting there with Mr. Jimmy Walker as well as Mr. Kim Anderson. And Jimmy, we're going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with Altadena and how you landed there?
Well, I was introduced to Altadena by my aunt Joyce Brown, who lived here prior to me coming here. I came to visit her in 1980, and she lived at up around Mariposa and Lake. And I got here, I said, wow, how nice it is out here. It was like a little rural and urban. You might come out of the house, you might see a person riding a horse down the street to the grocery store, and he ties it up outside. And you see cars going up and down. It's like herbal, um, a lot rural and urban. And I enjoyed that because I come from Cleveland, Ohio. I said, boy, I always wanted to, enjoy the country living plus the city living. It's all mixed up in one. And everybody was so lovely and friendly. Fast forward 20 something years later, I moved out here to pursue a career. And the first place I went, back where she was, and she was still living there. So I stayed with her about a month until I got an apartment. My apartment was right there. Um, so I stayed out there. And to me, it was my little Mayberry, I call it, because I could walk to the post office, I walked to the library, bank, grocery store, pharmacy, everywhere. I just barbershop. I just walked. And everybody was so friendly. Everybody knew everybody. And I just loved it there. I remained there like 19 years. I just moved away from there 2 years later. However, 2 days before the fire, I was up there because I usually go up there and shop. I go to barbershop up there and everything. I had my resume redone, and I was in the print store, and I went to the beverage store and all of that. 2 days later, it was all gone, burnt down. I mean, it's smoke. I will see all the videos, and people would sound like on film, or people were yelling, "Is this the end of the world?" I mean, it looked like a bomb zone. Everything was burning. I couldn't believe it. So my aunt's family spent their whole life up there mostly. They came from Cleveland too, but they lived here since the 60s. So they've been living there a long time. And it's just such a beautiful neighborhood. I hear from history that Sidney Poitier used to encourage other artists to move up here because it's so quiet. Nobody knows they're up here. My neighbors were all worked at Warner Brothers in the background, and all kind of technicians. I didn't know that until we were doing some kind of canvassing, and I did a shot of commercial, a national commercial, and I came home the next morning. That commercial was out front, and I walked out. I saw all these other people that, hey Jimmy, how you doing? Come over and have something to eat. I mean, they were shooting a commercial right outside my building. They
Wow.
made they made a lot of movies on that street on Mariposa. You know,
And
Jim.
so background on you as far as who you are and what you've done. You've worked with you worked in acting since you got there. You went there to pursue a career. So you had a lot of actors, as you're saying, that lived up in that area in Altadena area.
Yeah, you had crew people, a lot of them, and that right there where I lived at, in the buildings next door. So I'm working at Warner Brothers, Paramount, and they did, behind the, work the booms and all of that. Well, I did a commercial one time, and I came out, and those people were out there. A lot of people don't know that up in the Altadena, they make a lot of movies. Jim Carrey, Bruce Willis, they made those big movies there. And if they're filming, and if they're blocking up your parking spaces or whatever, they feed the people that live in the neighborhood. Just
Wow.
when they eating, they come up there and say, give them a plate. It was like that up there. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can speak definitely from experience, and I mentioned that earlier on, and and I concurred with that small town feeling, that neighborly thing. Where can you go and people are riding horses and will park them, like you said, at the corner store and go in and go shopping? I mean, it's absolutely stunning
I
that
was
town. And many people probably would have captured it and made it a tourist spot or something like that. But the community was just very comfortable in being a community, and the entertainment industry was comfortable because it had that small town atmosphere and helping to build the community by way of what. So thank you for sharing that part with us.
I,
Um,
I was also one day I did My Name is Earl. We were filming and the director came up to me. He said, I know you. And I said, well, I don't think so. And he kept saying, and he finally he said, I have coffee over here at such and such. All that time, one of the directors of a big TV show lives in Altadena. And that's where he saw me at. Because he said, I see you regular. And I said, you do? And yeah, a lot of that goes on up there. A lot
yeah,
of people up there.
yeah. That's the picture that we want to paint and let those who live in Cleveland,
Mhm.
or any town, Texas somewhere that had no idea that what this community was all about. So thank you for sharing that. And when we come back, we'll get a chance to talk to Mr. Kim Anderson, and Kim's going to share with us his version of Altadena. So we'll be right back.
Need a loan? Consider a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage will provide tax-free cash, eliminate monthly mortgage payments, and offers a financial safety net. If you can use a loan, call Jordan Gibbs today at 323-899-5547. That's 323-899-5547.
All right, everybody, we're back, and you're watching Variety Talk Live. I'm your host, Linda Lee, sitting in today as we talk about the historic Los Angeles wildfires, and with an emphasis on Altadena, one of the most exclusive African American communities in Southern California. It too was completely devastated by the wildfires, and we're here to just talk about it, talk to the people who experienced it, talk to those who grew up there. And so we have sitting in with us Mr. Jimmy Walker, actor, and Mr. Kim Anderson, ex Beverly Hills cop, as well as ex pro ball player for the Colts. So, welcome to the show, and thanks for jumping in with that information, Kim, regarding that power line. Because something I probably should have known, but I really did not. And so, thanks for sharing with us how that fire, how you had how we were able to have a fire in Malibu, and then have another fire east in Altadena. Both of them completely crushing communities. So. Why don't you just tell us briefly a little bit about, what was it like to be a Beverly Hills cop? uh, you should have joined. You should have done a little work there with Eddie Murphy, Mr. Beverly Hills Cop. But I
Uh,
hear probably hear.
I did. My nickname is Axel. That's my nickname, Axel. Okay. They're filming the movie, and matter of fact, I was working in. We were working the movie, and the actors didn't show up. They were supposed to drive. They had a Gambala Porsche, a 911, in front of City Hall, and I happened to have a Porsche, so the actors didn't say. I said I can drive that Porsche. I'll move it for you. And so I was in the movie, but then our chief of police, Chief Marvin, he didn't. He said we couldn't be in the movie or whatever, so they had to shoot it again. But that was pretty fun. But I met Eddie while they were shooting. They were staying up in the north end of Beverly Hills at a house that Prince owned, And Eddie used to have parties every night and have all these people over there. It was kind of fun. We'd go over there, and Eddie said, "Man, my music's not so loud." And people would say that, but it was crowded. It was just a lot of people up, when you go on the north end in the Truesdale Estates of Beverly Hills. But yeah, I met Eddie, and Eddie's nice guy, and from that point on, people were calling me Axel Foley, and because probably my makeup. The only thing Eddie Murphy and I have in common, we were both dark skinned. Okay, and I happen to be the fourth African American hired in the city of Beverly Hills in like 100 years, and I was the first dark skinned one.
Wow.
And so it was pretty interesting. Working that beat during that time.
Mm.
And
What
so, go ahead.
during the 80s?
Yes, I started there in 1986. Yeah,
Wow.
I retired from the NFL in 1980. What year was that? 84. I retired from the National Football League. I was drafted out of Arizona State, and I'll just add that living in Altadena, I went. They started busing when I was in high school, my ninth grade year. So we were bused from the Altadena area. We were bused instead of going to John Muir High School, which is in the western over there in Pasadena, right there, not far from Altadena. We were bused out to Pasadena High School, which is about 3 or 4 miles away, and we played football and all of that. But I used to run the hills of Altadena. That's how I got in shape for football. I used to run from my house up to Farnsworth Park, or I used to run out to Allen and Mendocino. They had a big mansion out there that used to light up every year for Christmas really good. So those were my running routes. And, sometimes I'd run all the way over to Lincoln, and, the Altadena has a lot of hills. And just so that's what I used for training. It was a lot of fun, and then we played touch football with the different neighborhoods. Back in the day, we get our neighborhood and we go play the neighborhood over on the other side of what's known as Christmas Tree Lane. The library is on the corner of Mariposa and Santa Rosa, and Christmas Tree Lane has a bunch of big, huge trees that look like Christmas trees. And people would drive down Christmas Tree Lane from Altadena Drive all the way down to Woodbury, and so that would be a big thing every Christmas. And so those hills they're fun to run, and they're steep, and good for getting in shape.
Well, your community, speaking of communities, that's what this show is all about. Must have been extremely proud of you. Busting out like you did and being one of the first African Americans to be on the force there in Beverly Hills. To be chosen by the Colts, for heaven's sakes, and play NFL. So just you sound like, and I'm sure you are and have been, a pillar of the community. So what that must have been like in terms of being able to, live there. Now I understand that you had property there, but now you live in Westwood. So you weren't living there when these fires took place. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't living there, but my people who I grew up with, the neighbor that lived next door to our house, their house burned down also. The neighborhood that we lived in was kind of a unique neighborhood. There's a street called Mariposa. It's a pretty major street. It was like one of the larger streets in Altadena that ran east and west. And we lived in between Marengo and Santa Anita. And then the next block over is Mendocino. So if you can picture that as a big block, well, there's these long driveways and these little streets that kind of run up in there where there's houses all in the middle of the block. So if you're driving down Mariposa, you actually couldn't see our house from the street. It was hidden down the hill. And then there was a house next door to mine, the neighbors, and then the house next door on the other side to the south was actually, the street was Mendocino because it came off of Mendocino, the street that paralleled Mariposa. So that was a little private drive, and cars could not access that. And then if you went out the backyard, there was Deodora and Oliveras. So all these streets were in the middle of the block between Marengo, Santa Anita, Mendocino, and Mariposa. And people lived in all these. And when we were growing up, we used to play hide and go seek and run and be all over everybody's yards and everything. But there was a person that was encouraging to me that lived there. His name was Mike Garrett. Mike Garrett's mother lived in the house right behind ours of Deodora, and Mike Garrett played for the Kansas City Chiefs. They won a Super Bowl back in Super Bowl IV back in like 1970 or so. So one of the big encouraging things for me was Mike Garrett invited all the Kansas City Chiefs to his house when I was a kid. And I went over there and got all these autographs, and I met all these pro football players. And Mike Garrett even took time to play touch football with us in this. We called that the back street. It was a dead end street. You couldn't drive through that street. And we played a lot of touch football back there, and we played basketball and everything. So we had a lot of athletes. There was athletes that grew up in our neighborhood that we played with and grew up with that got scholarships to USC. Barry Brooks that lived right down the street, two houses. Dale Cook, they got scholarships to USC to play basketball. Dale got recruited by everybody in basketball. So we had a lot of good athletes and we had a lot of fun and that's what we did. And the gentleman said, Jimmy said, horses. You see horses riding down the street. Iverson's Ranch
Yeah.
wasn't that far away, and we went horseback riding over there. And yeah, you could ride the horses down to Pasadena or down Altadena Drive, or you see horses walking out, and it was kind of like had a Mayberry-ish kind of feel to it, and everybody knew everybody because the major streets, Lincoln, Fair Oaks, Lake Avenue, those are the major streets that go north and south. And so, pretty much it had three high schools in Pasadena: John Muir, John Blair, and Pasadena High. And then I was at Elliott Junior High. At the time, it was called Junior High. I guess now it's a middle school. But yeah, everybody kind of knew each other, and we had a great time growing up. There was a theater on Washington, right off of between Lake and El Molino, called Cinema 21, where you could go see three movies for like 50 cents. And I think everybody in Altadena and Pasadena went to that movie theater on Saturday nights and they had a good time. And yeah, it was good. There's two little leagues, West Altadena and Central Altadena. And then they had the Pasadena Little League. So it's very competitive and a lot of organized sports, Pop Warner football and things. And you got to know everybody. And even though you didn't go to the same school, my neighbors, the way the busing worked, I went to PHS, Pasadena High. Then I had a neighbor that down the street that went to John Muir High School, and the other neighbor down the street went to John Blair High School. So it was a little interesting how everybody went to school, but we all knew each other, and it was a fun time.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Well, you know what? We got to take another station break. Hold that thought, and I'm going to hold mine. And when we come
Okay.
right back, I want to piggyback off of something you're saying right now. Everyone, you're watching Variety Talk Live. I'm your host, Linda Leak. You're sitting in on our very special segment where we are discussing the historical Altadena. We'll be right back.
Need a loan? Consider a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage will provide tax-free cash, eliminate monthly mortgage payments, and offers a financial safety net. If you can use a loan, call Jordan Gibbs today at 323-899-5547. That's 323-899-5547.
All right, everybody, we're back. You're watching Variety Talk Live, and we're here again with Mr. Jimmy Walker, actor, who remember to check out The Middle, Man in the Middle, A Man in the Middle with Ted Danson, streaming on Netflix right now with Jimmy Walker, and a few other things that we'll mention before we close. We're also on with Mr. Kim Anderson, and Kim is a ex-NFL player as well as an ex-Beverly Hills cop, and he's an entrepreneur right now. Both of these men share something very similar. They are sharing with us the very, very important history of Altadena, California. Many people, like myself, had no idea that it even existed. And so when we left off, Kim, you were sharing something with us that was so important, and Jimmy, you did as well, as far as what I want to get across to the viewers, those who know nothing about Southern California or even Altadena, was the magic in that small town atmosphere, that small town feeling. You called it Andy Griffith, Jimmy, and Kim, you just gave a full length description about what that felt like. You know, it was so great how you gave us the intricate details of community living and what that was like. And I think that that's important also because that was my feeling when I never experienced anything like that. First of all, Pasadena was very beyond charming, but it was also just uh, very surprising to me when an actor friend of mine invited me to the Pasadena Playhouse, and I drove there one summer afternoon, and I drove through, and the feeling and the energy was so beautiful that I thought, you know what, one day I want to live here, and I ended up just moving to Pasadena. Uh, and the same thing, and so as one of the days while I was in Pasadena, and I was working, you know, with one of my businesses, and somebody said, "Oh, you need to go up to Altadena. It's just right up the street." And I drove up that street, and I'm going to tell you, Kim, that feeling that you're talking about, that little small town feeling that you're talking about, also, Jimmy, just hit me, and it almost felt like you stepped back into a storybook, or it felt like you were like LA was so fast. But if you went up into Altadena, it was just really homespun, and you could maybe cut off 20 years because everybody was so community oriented and everyone was helping everyone. And it was no pretension. It was just a beautiful small town with African Americans who had done very well, loving, caring, kind, and continuing to aspire with their businesses and to help people with their businesses. And you're speaking, Kim, about all of the different, that one, what was it, chief, the chief, the Kansas City chief that invited the whole neighborhood to his house, and then all of the NFL players that kind of cropped out of that. Why? Because there was one aspiring individual that took the time out. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying, and get that point across to people who oh, it makes me want to cry because to get that point across to people who didn't get a chance to really know what that was like and how damaging it is now for those people who no longer have their homes, and for that land that no longer exists. It's just, it leaves you speechless because that beautiful picture that you both painted of this storybook uh, place, which is really what it seemed like to me. I would say that to people. It was like a storybook place to me. And now it doesn't exist. So, with that being said, we're here, you know, today, and I hope that we've done a good job of sharing with others who did not know about that best kept secret in Southern California, who did not know that so many aspiring and successful African Americans came up there and developed a community and made it work and made it happen. And so now it's gone. So with that being said, what are your feelings about everything that has happened now? Does anyone want to just jump in there and share?
Well, I'll just say this. You know, Woodbury, which is like the dividing line. If you take Woodbury all the way across, it's an east-west running street that kind of separates Pasadena from Altadena. And then you have the Pasadena police. Then you have the Altadena sheriff that patrolled that because Altadena's unincorporated. and and so Altadena didn't have any high schools up there and anything but like that. But just I think because the small town and because you had the three high schools and everybody went to one of those high schools that to me, it was a very friendly place. Everybody kind of knew each other. People knew each other's families, and you followed each other all the way through. And to this day, we're still big friends. One of the things people just used to say Dina. They didn't say Alta, they didn't say Pass, they just say Dina, and you were included in that. If you were in Altadena or Pass, then it didn't matter. And then if you go way up in Altadena, like where Loma Alta is, like the top, and there's a park up there called Loma Alta that a lot of the Little League games were played and things of that nature. And then there's that extension part, which if you want to say that there was a upper, actually there was called the Meadows. And you kind of take this road to kind of wind around and to go up there and have houses up there. And there's people that lived up there, and we're like, oh, they're bougie, living in the meadows and that kind of thing. But we had fun with wherever you lived at up there. It was a fun time.
And for the most part, most of those homes were pretty bougie. I from what I recall, they were nice homes in Altadena. You had some areas that were pretty, basic and common, but my experience has been just really beautiful homes in that area, and also just people who worked hard and were willing to help pull other people up. That was what I witnessed. That was what I witnessed, and so my heart goes out to each and every person that I had the honor of meeting when I first came to Altadena. Um, I pray every day that your healing be swift. Um, I pray that the rebuild will be effortless, and that everyone will get back even more than what they had when they started. And so, with that being said, Jimmy, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
It was just like some of the merchants that, you know, one in particular, John, he had a vegetarian little restaurant next to a cultural African store right there on Lake. That man, I mean, that was his livelihood. I mean, it was just like I go a lot of places to get vitamins. I go past those places, I go to him because he makes his living doing that. And he's about 70 or 80. He rides around on a bike. I
Wow,
mean, health.
wow.
I think about people like him. I've seen him give homeless people, he won't give them any money, but he'll give them something to eat. People don't do that. That's why I call it the Little Mayberry. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody looked out for everybody. It's just gone in smoke. So
Now,
people,
Jimmy, did you ever go to that bakery? I think this is between Mendocino and Calaveras. That's what you're talking about, that area in Lake right there. Is that where his shop was?
yeah, he was next door to it. John is.
Right. Yeah, right next door to that bakery, right?
The guy made the best sweet potato pie.
Boy, that bakery has some good stuff. It did, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he passed away.
Mm.
It was
wasn't there a concert area also where you could have outdoor concerts there, or was that Pasadena?
Farnsworth. They used to do it at they
Yeah,
used to do it
Farnsworth had an area up there at the top.
yeah, they did it
Yeah. hmm
every Saturday. You could go up there if you wanted.
There was a gentleman, and I pray that everything is okay. I'm out of contact with him because that was cell phones ago. Who he and his wife invited me to their home, and it was so fabulous that it literally had a bridge like a moat, and there was a stream that ran underneath the bridge. And then on the other side was all this grassy land, and we were actually planning a concert up there. So it's that's my idea. I saw the horses walking in the streets. It was just it was a place that you couldn't describe, and it didn't get any airplay, which was good because I think everybody appreciated having this quiet little town that many people just didn't know about. But they certainly were kind and good people and generous and loving, And it felt to me like, if you want to push the clock backwards, probably 20 years, how everybody used to be that way in the, earlier days before everything got so crazy. And so, yeah, huge loss, huge loss. Now, Jimmy, you mentioned something about Pasadena looking as if it's never been touched. I mean, so what's that like to go from Pasadena and up to Altadena? Where does the damage start and stop?
Well, they stopped me in New York Drive. They won't let you go any further than that. And they had the troopers with automatic rifles right there in New York Drive. So they
Also,
won't let
they
anybody.
have armed soldiers out there now. Okay.
So you won't be able to get up there.
You were on the east side then, huh, Jimmy? New York Drive between Allen and Lake.
When
Yeah.
I used to live, when I lived up there, I lived on Mariposa and Lake.
Okay. Yeah.
Apartment buildings, right 3 doors from the corner. 3 doors from Webster on the other side of.
On the other side. Okay. Yeah.
I heard they burned down. I don't know.
I think they did, but that's because we used to there was a store on the there still is like a store on almost like a 7-Eleven type right on the corner of Mariposa and Lake right there.
Yeah, that burned down.
That burned down too. Okay.
Stop and go.
Yeah. Okay.
I was up there the day before.
Do they have little have you run into little areas where they're giving out distribution? Are people getting enough help with simple things like toiletries and diapers and things like that? Are they receiving help? Do you see like a lot of little locations where they're giving things away?
Yes, I was coming up late today, and there's a lane. It has a sign says, "You need water, come here." Everybody that needed water, if you needed water, you get in that lane and make a right, and they put it in your car. I've been buying my water. I leave that for people who really need it. But yes, they're doing it in Pasadena also, because we're supposed to be on a bottled water ban and a mask ban, even though we're in Pasadena. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so that's the way it's going. But
So what do you guys see the future? What are your thoughts, just briefly, as far as the future of this rebuilding is concerned? Where do you see this going?
funny you that's that, because it happened at a bad time. We don't know what's going on this coming week, but I'm looking to hear some stuff about you know people getting in the way of growth for the people in need up there. I'm looking to hear that, but I'm sure if you're a young person, I'm sure you're feeling, oh, I'm gonna build this place back up. But if you happen to be my age or older and you lose something like that, all your memories, all your home and all that, it's gonna be rough to try to go through the mental stuff to get the money back to do it. You even build a place all the way back up from the ground. I don't know, but
How long do you think like this would take? I heard 3 years.
I pray that they do, because those whose house were paid for, there's a story that a lot of people got their house a fire insurance canceled before it was canceled before they happened. I heard of one lady today that they told me that they said they were going to guarantee her $100,000 in the bank, but in 2 days, her house is worth more than $1 million, and it's burned to the ground. I mean, what?
Yeah,
Thinking about that will hurt.
yeah, and yeah, that's the whole thing too. The question being, some of the people were in between insurance. I heard some people, or this is what one of the contractors told me today, that some people may have insurance issues. So I hope and pray that somebody comes up with some kind of program so that everybody is just not just devastated and lost if they were in between insurance. And some of the companies have made it very hard, like you're saying, the insurance companies have made it hard on the homeowners based on the history of all of the fires. And so I pray that it will be effortless and smooth, and it'll just be better. It'll just be better. So, with that being said, the next time, this is a part one of our series. The next time we come on, we'll be talking about Malibu and what took place there and that devastation. Um, I used to visit a very beautiful temple there at Sunset, and not used to. Used to at this point. Sunset and PCH, and that is still, parts of it is still standing, but other parts of it uh, are not. And so the good part, here's the good part about it is that the number of homes versus the number of lives lost is a really big deal, because the last time I looked, I think there were 12 people who died, and one life lost is more than enough. But when you look at the amount of homes and communities that were completely just wiped out, and to end up with only 12 people, I mean, you didn't even go into the 20s yet. You're still in the teens that have passed away. I think that that's a big miracle. And so that's something to remain grateful for, as long as we're looking for blessings. Um, so anyway, the next show we're going to have on people who will be talking to us about rebuilding, how they can offer in terms of materials, finances, and anything else that you may need to rebuild. So everyone that has a home that needs to rebuild, or that may want to take a look and have your options, we want to send you also to Gibbs Realty, Gibbs Realty, and we will be running a couple of commercials in between the show, and that would be Jordan Gibbs, Marla Gibbs' son. He has a realty company, and he's worked with us, and he has a financing program. So we'll be talking to you about that as well. All right. So everybody, thank you, both of you, for joining us, sharing with us the importance of Altadena, California. um, the history is still history because what it was made. And we are thankful to have both of you here to tell your stories about the history of Altadena. And, we just continue to push forward. California strong, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, take care, you guys. Stay strong, and uh, this too shall pass, and we will make it through, all of us collectively. All right. So, everybody, you've been watching and joining in on Mr. Uh, Jimmy Walker. And Jimmy, you want to just tell us a little bit about the man in the middle quickly, just briefly?
It was about a retired professor who was born and he got hired as an undercover agent in a nursing home to find out who was stealing the jewelry. And it was 8 episodes, and they go episode by episode, and they finally solved the case. The public liked it, so they're gonna give them a second season. Hopefully, I'll go back. I hope.
Beautiful. Well, I saw a couple of the episodes and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Excuse me. So I look forward to seeing you in everything. I see you in everything. You're modest because you've got about, if I looked up under, pulled your name up, you've got a gazillion different things that you played in. So we appreciate you coming on and just sharing with us what you're doing. And everybody, don't forget about the Joker as well. Joker number 2.
Yes,
And you want to say anything about that quickly?
it was very, very interesting filming and working on that. I did it for about a month, but it was nice.
All right.
Everybody was lovely.
Okay. All right. Well, you keep doing what you're doing, and it's always about being the example of those who are coming behind you. So thanks for being the example. And Mr. Kim Anderson, entrepreneur and overall jack of all trades, including ex-cop and ex-cult, and now
Yeah.
entrepreneur. So we appreciate you as well joining in with us and sharing with us what you're doing and your thoughts about the beautiful town of Altadena.
Can,
So
can, can I do a quick 22-second commercial?
absolutely.
Okay, the plant, the mature hops extract. It's a plant, and it's all natural, no side effects, but it helps people. It attacks the visceral fat in your body, among other things. But it's a great plant, and we have something that you can take that you just mix it with any beverage. So anybody, and it's tied to a business. Okay, you can make you a ton of money. It's early in the stages. It's less than 6 months old. We're doing that. We're having a great deal of fun. So Linda, I'll let you go ahead if you want to recruit the people that are looking at your show. I won't do that. I want to let them know it does exist. And if you don't want to do them, then you go ahead and you forward them to me, okay?
All right, but I'm loving the idea, Jimmy. So I appreciate that, and I'm going to continue to check it out. And we're gonna we'll get some product out to some people for sure, for sure.
Okay. All right.
So thanks for coming and joining us, everybody. You're watching Variety Talk Live, and I'm your host Linda Leak, and we will see you next time. Make sure that you stay safe.